Okay, so what we want to do now, let's say we have a linked list and we want to insert a node in this linked list. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, we want to allocate that node. Let's say this is the node that we want to insert in the linked list. Let's look at it like in different cases. What if we want to insert, so like you always have to consider different cases. What if my list is already empty? In that case, if h is equal to null, then basically means that h is going to be equal to p. That's it. This is going to be a linked list. What if the node we want to put, we want to insert it in the beginning of the linked list, in the head of the linked list? What if we want to insert it at the end of? What if we want to insert it at the middle? So the code you write, it has to cover all of these cases, right? Not just one of them. It has to cover all of these cases. So let's look at it. If we want to insert the node at the beginning of the linked list, what we basically need to do, basically moving or making this linked list point to the first node, right? So we basically have to say p arrow next is equal to h. And then what's next? Then this should be becoming the head of the linked list, right? So we want this one to be gone, and we want to make this head pointing to here. So h is equal to p. So that was the case if we wanted to insert the node in the beginning of the linked list. What if we want to insert a node at the end of the linked list, right? Then we already have this one. So this is like, let's say like the data is already there, and we make this one equal to null, right? And what we do, we create that pointer and we move this pointer all the way to the end, right? So this time the loop that we write, it's gonna be like this: while c arrow next is not equal to either 0 or null. While this is the case, c is equal to c arrow next, right? So when this pointer moves here, now it's very simple. What we want to do is basically just basically making this pointer point to where p is pointing to. So as soon as we get out of this loop, what we want to say is that c arrow next, which is this pointer, is equal to, it's equal to what? It's equal to p. So if that was the case, if we wanted to insert it at the end, that's how we do it. What if we want to insert it somewhere in the middle, right? Let's say that we want to insert it somewhere here. We want to insert it like right before here. Okay, between these two, between the n-1 and nth node, n-1st and nth node. So what we do, again, we have to make this pointer traverse through the linked list, and we make it stop here. Okay, we make it stop here. And once we make it stop here, then it's easy, right? What we need to do basically first, make p arrow next, which is this one, make it equal to, if this is c, make it equal to c arrow next, right? P arrow next is equal to c arrow next. What's gonna happen in this case, this is not gonna be null anymore. It's gonna be pointing to the same place that C arrow next, which is this one, is pointing to. So this is gonna point to here. So one part is done. The other part is making this one point here, right? So what should I do? C arrow next is equal to what? It's equal to P. So this is not gonna be, let me actually do this. This is done. It's gonna be pointing here. So we inserted a node in the middle of the linked list. So that's how it is done. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that you should consider different cases. Okay, now I'm gonna try implement it not fully, but let's call this pointer temporary. I'm just gonna use my notes. So we have the head pointer, we have a temporary pointer that we use to traverse through the linked list, and we want to insert a new node at the nth position of the linked list, right? So if this is the nth position, we want to insert a node right before it. So let's say that this is the node that we want to insert here. Okay, this means that this is null. I initialize this with null so that, like, if I want to put it at the end, I don't need to do anything. Just need to make this one point to here, right? But if n is equal 1, what if we want to insert this one at the beginning of the linked list, right? We already covered that, right? So this means that C arrow next is equal to what? H. And so it means that this is gonna point to this. And now our head is gonna change. Head is equal to C. So that's gonna be happening here. If n is equal to 1, this is what's gonna be. So this is a special case, because if that's the case, our head pointer has to change. Our first node is not gonna be this one anymore. It's gonna be this one. So if this is the case, you have to make sure to change the head pointer, right? So that's why, like, if you write a function, you might have to pass this one by reference so that you can change it inside the function, right? In the case that you have to insert it in the beginning, that means that your head is gonna change. Your head pointer has to point to the new node. Now, for the other cases, again, let's assume that this is the pointer that points to the new node that we want to insert, and this is, we filled it with null. If that's the case, we write a loop and we make the